Hey, Shalom, Shalom. It's your brother Raza Allah from GMS London Camp. First and foremost, when they give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Blessings to the hopeful and sincere elect. Now, just watching the live news, Sky News over the UK, in regard to this tariff war between China and America right now in Beijing. Basically fighting back against these increased tariffs by your guy DJ Trump, man, aka Nero 2.0. And he's got some headlines here in the last 20 minutes, man. It says Beijing takes fight to Trump as global markets rally after tariff U-turn. It says US is holding throats of countries. So now all these countries, man, basically America's become, or DJ Trump's become the number one enemy on the face of the earth, man. The American way, so to speak, so-called democracy, I call demonocracy and all of that. You know, it's become, the most hated and the most despised upon, like it tells you in Obadiah, like Esau, Edom, small amongst the nations, and then they're going to be greatly despised. So the Lord is making, an example of how these so-called white people are the devil that the Bible speaks of, and not only the Israelites are noticing it, that all these other nations are realizing that too, and even more so in the kingdom of heaven, that's going to be even more pronounced as a basically saying that Esau, Edom, these devils that destroyed the earth, basically, man, they're going to be greatly despised even more so in the kingdom by the other nations, especially us being the Israelites, man, the biblical Israelites of the 12 tribes of Israel, written of in the scriptures, man, which these devils, are suffering from identity crisis, claiming to be someone that they're not, claiming to be the children of Yahweh Shem, Yahweh Shai, and when indeed they're really the sons and daughters of Satan, man, in the physical form, the sons of perdition, on earth. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're bringing nothing but destruction upon the earth, man, because that's part of Esau's blessing, and he did it by way of the sword. So this is a small proof that Esau is the number one enemy of all these nations upon the face of the earth, and he's going to be hated amongst all the people, even more so in the kingdom of heaven, man. As it tells you in Isaiah the 14th chapter, man, is this the man? Everyone's going to be surprised and shocked at this devil, these decrepit devils that have been conspiring and doing all this wickedness for the past 400 or 500 years, man. These rich banking families and all that behind the scenes, so-called oligarchs of the Kabbalists of society. So it says US is holding the throats of the countries to get concessions. So the nation's drunk of the wine and now the nations are mad, man. Everyone's furious with America right now, especially DJ Trump. He's become the number one most hated man on the earth. So it's beautiful, man, because this is going to add to the credence of why those nuclear missiles are going to go flying towards America very soon. And now we can actually see why. Because before, back in the day, we used to think, we used to know that this was going to take place, like the missiles are going to hit America and America's going to be greatly despised, but we couldn't really put a finger on why there was going to be great hatred against the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. But now we can see it, because this guy Trump is just running a straight tyrannical rule, man, a straight dictatorship. And like Apostle Elders Tahar was saying, he moves like a king, because he actually is a king. He's not moving like a president or, chief of staff and all that. He's moving like he's the king of Babylon the Great, and he is the cruel Lord, as brothers has been bringing out, man. He's the villain that will speak villainly, and oppress the poor. So it says US, 20 minutes ago, US is holding throats of countries to get concessions. 1 minute ago it says EU committed to negotiations with US. Yeah, now for now, but ultimately even their own allies are gonna, shoot missiles on America, man. As I just quoted Revelation 17 and 16, the 10 horns which represents the EU are gonna hate the whore that sitteth upon many waters, which represents who? America, Babylon the Great, and burn her with fire, utterly with fire. And said 27 minutes ago, it says China, if US wants to talk, it must show respect. And that's one thing America doesn't do. They don't show respect. They're very proud and very boisterous in the way they do things. And this is why the other nations are getting peed off as well, because this guy Trump has always got an excuse for all the wickedness that he's doing. And he's never showed any ounce of remorse or sorrowful, for anything that goes wrong in the name of the American democracy, so to speak, man. Even when they're doing things outright wrong in the first place, they always act like they're in the right, and they have a means to do so, because they're Babylon the Great, they're America, that great city. So yeah, man, this is beautiful, man. Prophecy is speaking. I just wanted to do a quick sit down on that. This is leading to that Third World War, and very soon those nukes are going to be flying from all different parts of the earth straight to America, man. That's why you can see 200,000 warheads pelting America and destroying that whole land. You can actually envision it now, man, because everyone's getting fed up with America, man, and these tariffs. Everyone's complaining about the EV, the cars over here in the UK. They have to put a halt on the cars and all that for electric vehicles over here in the UK, because all these tariff complaints and all that, the high stock, the high prices, inconvenience and all of that. So yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Anyway, I've got one or two more precepts and I'm gonna close out. I just wanted to do that quickly, just on the point. This is Jeremiah 51:7. It says, Babylon have been the golden cup in the Lord's hand, which is America, aka Babylon the Great. It says that made all the earth drunken. Yes, America, just like you had the head of gold in Daniel the 2nd chapter, which represents the ancient Babylonian Empire. This modern day Babylonian Empire, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, is also, considered so-called a golden cup. Likened to a golden cup, meaning that at one point it was the height of all the societies in the known West, man. But now, everyone's fed up with the way of the West, the wicked West, man. Especially America. It says it was a golden cup in the Lord's hand. And so it was pedestalized. It says that made all the earth drunken with all the philosophies, the fornication that was in that cup, going into their doctrines and all of that, their theologies, and then, the democracy as well, all of that philosophies and stuff of that nature made all the earth drunken with this democracy. It says the nations have drunk enough of wine, therefore the nations are mad. And also that definitely includes the monetary system, because America was the, a reserve currency at one point in the center stage in time. It was the main reserve currency. Now everyone's fighting to get America out of there, and you step away from the American dollar because of all the hindrance they had to deal with. Especially now with all these trade deals and tariff wars that they're pushing on the people, man. So everyone's getting mad. The nations are fed up with America and their shenanigans. So that's why ultimately this is going to happen. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. So ultimately they're going to be destroyed because everyone's going to get fed up and then basically push the nuclear buttons on America, man. It's like, yo, how for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. That's the mantra of America. Make America great again. America's not going to be great again. It's not going to be healed. It's going to go into perdition, man. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us everyone go into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up into the skies, man. Yes, America's done. They've had their time to rule. Time and chance happeneth to all men. And now it's time for the wicked to go down and the righteous, being the sons of Israel, Yasha Allah, starting with the elect to rule over the earth in righteousness, man. Get rid of this pestilence, this virus that's, spawning the earth right now. I've been spawning the earth for the past couple of 100 years, infesting this earth and, destroying everything in sight. This is Revelation 17:8. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, which is the ancient Roman Empire. It fell after 1,000 years, or for 1,000 years. Then the pagan Roman Empire, which went into the Byzantine, the Holy Roman Empire for 1,000 years. So Esau was in obscurity, so to speak. He was in the caves, grunting on all fours. The wood wolves and all of that good stuff. Their history in the caves, the Caucasus Mountains. That's why they call themselves Caucasian today. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, the proud devils that they are. It says, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, which is where? Europe. Mainly of Spain, That's when these devils came back through the different, the different lines through the Spanish and all of that, and worked their way up through the so-called Roman Catholicism, Italy and Spain and all of that, and pushed that down Roman Catholicism on the peoples, especially Jake, during the time of the transatlantic slavery, man. And that's how these devils rose back up into power. It says, and go into perdition, so ultimately they're going to be destroyed, man. It says, and that day that dwell on the earth shall wonder, and that they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. See, it was and is not. I mean, it was dead for dormant for a moment in time for 1,000 years span, and then now it's been revived through America, man, through Europe and through Great Britain and all that. Ultimately, America gained its independence from Great Britain in the 1700s, man, so to speak. It says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains representing governments, powers. It says, on which the woman sitteth. So that's America being pedestalized once again. The woman that sitteth upon many waters. It says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen and 1 is. It says, and the other is not yet come. It says, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And that represents Great Britain, man, because they ruled, out of the 5 that was fallen, and the 1 is, the Great British, British Britannia, Great Britannia Empire and all that. They made their shilling, so to speak, their mass wealth, incorporated in that transatlantic slave trade. So they became the main powerhouse, and the pound was actually the reserve currency at that time until America gained its independence from Great Britain. So they ruled they was in place for a short space of time, and then and then America was birthed from them. It's verse 11, and it says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, which is who? America. And the beast represents NATO and the EU, which America is the head of that beast system. It says, and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. So America's ultimate destination is to what? Be destroyed, man. And that's exactly what's going to happen, man. America's going to get wiped off the face of the earth. So no matter what these devils do, all they're doing is playing into the hands of the Lord. It's called prophecy, man. And the word of the Lord doesn't return unto him void. So let me just read this last precept regarding these Asians and all of that. In 2nd Ezra 15 and 46. Yeah. It says, and thou Asia, thou art partaker in the hope of Babylon. Who's Asia today? These Chinese, these Gooks, these Moabites, so-called Chinese and the Moabites. In ancient times, it says, thou art partakers in the hope of Babylon, which represents America, and art the glory of her person. So they follow in the same trend. And that's why they're business associates right now, and they're going into war regarding these tariffs. And China's demanding that America shows respect, and so on and so forth, which America's never going to do. And even if they do, it's going to be like a backstabbing type of situation where you can't trust these devils, because everything they do is with a forked tongue. It says, woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her. Yeah, Asia's following that demonocracy. They're trying to be like America, even though they're more advanced with the technology right now. It says, and has decked thy daughters in whoredom. It says that they might please the glory of thy lovers, and please So like, I'll read that part again. It says, then that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. So they've had many and many different interactions financially, you know. It's leading to these so-called tariff wars that's going on right now. And China was the main holders of America's debt, as well as Japan. But China was the number one holders of America's national debt, you know. It says, thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions, therefore saith the Most High. Yeah, thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. So that America is the most hated and most despised nation on the face of the earth. And China's still, you know, dealing with these devils. But it's all going to come back to bite them in the arse. And ultimately, America's going to end up getting hit with nuclear missiles from their so-called allies as well, like China and Russia, so on and so forth, man. The nations even outside of the beast system, as well as their counterparts in that's part of the beast system, like NATO and the EU nations and all that. It says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. So these gooks are going to be catching hell too. The Lord hasn't forgotten about these gooks, man. So Moab's going to be the Lord's washpot in the kingdom of heaven, man. The Lord's kingdom. So they're going into slavery too. It says, and the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower, and heat shall arise that is sent over thee. Thou shalt be weakened as the poor woman with stripes. It says, and as one chastised with wounds, so that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to perceive thee. So these heathens are going to get jacked up, you know, especially America, and Asia's going to get jacked up too, man. It says, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. So the Lord's going to jack up America, he's going to jack up these gooks too. It says, woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. So this is it, man. So this is why they're having these tariff wars and these trade wars, so to speak, going back with Beijing and America, because the Asians and the partakers of the hope of Babylon, man. You know, they was trying to keep Babylon afloat, so to speak, but you know, these negotiations are not working out as they thought they would. And you know, ultimately it's going to come back to it's going to spiral out of control, I mean, and it's going to ultimately end in nuclear warfare, man. You know, no matter how it's cut and sliced up, man, you know, because America's going to keep overstepping the mark, breaking all kind of international laws. I mean, right now they got military forces going over there to the Middle East to start troubles and tensions with Iran. So you already know what's going to happen after that on the behalf of Israel. So World War III is on the table anyway, man. There's no way to escape it. It's inevitable, man. You know, just ask Arnie from Terminator or Agent Smith. It's inevitable. So anyway, with that, you know, Salakia, I want to close out, give all praises and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai B'Hashem, B'Chakodash, and Shalom, to the hopeful and sincere elect.